So you're thinking about a skilled visa for Australia, right? And there's one number that everyone talks about, 65 points. Well, I'm here to tell you that focusing on that number is a huge mistake. Seriously, it's dangerously misleading. Let's get into the real strategy you're going to need for 2026. Okay, first things first, look at this number, 95. Just let that sink in for a second. This isn't some random number I pulled out of a hat. It's not a nice to have goal. This is the real, actual score an accountant needed to get an invitation for the highly sought-after 189 visa. And that, right there, shows you the massive, massive gap between the official minimum and what's really happening. So the big problem we're going to unpack today is this. Just hitting 65 points? Yep, that's not going to cut it anymore. All right, so that brings us straight into our first topic, the myth of 65 points. We've got to break down why aiming for that basic score in 2026 could seriously be the biggest mistake you make on this journey. And look, you don't have to take my word for it. This comes straight from the source, the Department of Home Affairs. They literally say that 65 points is just the entry gate. Think about that. It's not a finish line. This whole thing isn't a pass-fail test. It's a competition. You're being ranked against thousands of other talented people. And guess who gets the invitations? Only the people at the very top of the list. And this table, it shows you exactly what that competition looks like in black and white. If you're a software engineer going for the 1890 visa, you realistically need 90 points, maybe more. Accountants, we already saw that, a staggering 95 plus. Even for critical roles like registered nurses, you're still looking at 80 to 85 points. It just goes to show you the massive difference between the 65-point entry ticket and the actual winning score. So the big question is, if 65 is out, how in the world do you get up to 90, 95 points? Well, that's exactly what we're talking about next in the keys to scoring. We're going to dig into the most important factors and, more importantly, the hidden traps you absolutely have to avoid. Okay, let's start with the one thing you have no control over, your age. I call this the countdown effect. See here? The golden window, that sweet spot, is from age 25 to 32. That gets you the maximum 30 points. But the moment you turn 33, poof, you drop 5 points. Then at 40, it's like falling off a cliff. You plummet down to just 15 points. And here's the absolute kicker. Your points are locked in when you get the invitation, not when you submit your application. So if you have a birthday while you're in the queue, your points go down, just like that. All right, next up is a mistake I see all the time. It's so common and costs people so many points. We call it the native speaker trap. And yeah, this one really catches out a lot of people from places like the UK, the US, Ireland, Canada, you get the idea. And this chart explains exactly why it's a trap. So many people think, hey, I have a British passport, I must get points for English, right? Wrong. It gets you 0 points. It just means you meet the minimum requirement. But look at this. If you actually sit an English test like the PTE and nail a superior score, you get a whopping 20 points. 20! Honestly, that 20-point difference can be the single thing that separates an unsuccessful application from a successful one. It's that big a deal. Okay, so we've talked about the problems, the myths, the traps. It's a bit grim, I know. But now, let's flip the script and talk solutions. This next part is all about the smartest, most effective ways to rack up those points and build a truly competitive score. Think of this as your action plan, your roadmap to a higher score, ranked by how much impact they have. Number 1, the absolute game changer is maxing out your English score. That's a potential 20 points right there. Next up, aiming for a regional nomination with a 491 visa, that's another 15 points. Your partner situation, whether they are skilled or you're single, can get you 10 points. And finally, a really smart move is the NAATI CCL test. It's a community language test, and passing it gives you a crucial 5 points. Let's just double-click on that 491 visa for a second because it's so important. I like to call it the ultimate point booster. That extra 15 points it gives you can literally take a score from, say, 70, which, let's be honest, isn't competitive, and instantly shoot it up to a very strong 85. Now, it is a provisional visa start, but don't let that fool you. It has a very clear path to permanent residency. Now, here is a really critical update for anyone looking towards 2026, especially accountants. The professional year program for accounting, it's closed, gone. So what does that mean? It means the NAATI CCL test for those 5 points has gone from being a nice-to-have bonus to something that's pretty much essential if you want to stay in the game.
Okay, before we get to the final steps, we have to talk about this. These are the mistakes that can absolutely sink your application, even if you have a great score on paper. I'm talking about the common but totally fatal errors we see over and over.
So, number one, we've hammered this home. Assuming 65 points is enough. Big mistake. Another one is overclaiming work experience. Claiming points for a job you can't back up with solid proof, like payslips. Then there's claiming partner points when your partner hasn't actually got their skills assessment done. Huge no-no. We also see people losing points because they hit a birthday while trying to finish another course. And finally, banking on programs that are already closed, like the accounting professional year. All right, so we have covered a lot. The reality of the point system, the best ways to score, and the worst mistakes to avoid. Now, let's bring it all home and talk about your next steps.
Really, it all boils down to this one question. How can you build a strategy where every single point you claim is provable, is rock solid, and actually lines up with what the different states are looking for? Because it's not just about getting a high score, it's about getting the right score, strategically.
And that's why this is so much more than just a numbers game. Maximizing your score needs a really careful strategy. Why? Because a point is worthless if you can't prove it. A mistake can set you back years. This is where getting some expert guidance can make all the difference. It's about having someone who can analyze your specific situation, find those little point opportunities you might have missed, and then build a bulletproof application that aligns perfectly with what states are actually asking for.
So if there's one thing you take away today, it's this. A strong application isn't just about the final number. It's about the solid, provable strategy that gets you there. If you're ready to figure out what that strategy looks like for you, the best next step is to get some tailored advice. We invite you to submit a free visa assessment. It's a chance to get a real expert to look at your case, help you find every possible point, and map out a path to your target score. Because with the right plan, that number on a page can become your new life in Australia. Thanks so much for watching.